We're back in part 2 of this series on how to improve your overall practical play. We're still looking at pawn structures. In the first section, we looked at various breakthroughs with b5 within Benoni-type pawn chains that could arise out of bishop g4 king's Indian move order, and how that compares to the b5 breakthrough we would see in the Benko, which was more positional. We're continuing with this theme, and now we're going to look at locked pawn structures that require an f4, f5, or f5, f4 breakthrough. And the first one, the first type of position that we're going to look at is going to arise from the King's Indian. This should be familiar to absolutely everyone. Everyone knows what the King's Indian structure looks like. It's characterized by this locked pawn center. We discussed that a little bit in the earlier segment. But what's different about this one is that obviously instead of playing for b5, because we don't have a pawn on c5, here we're playing for f5. And I personally think this is a lot more exciting because when you're going for f5 or f4 breakthroughs, you're really going for the opponent's king and you're looking to start an attack. And the way the King's Indian works, especially in these classical lines, and I talk about this a little bit in another DVD I made for iChess about themes in the King's Indian. So here, white is going to try and go for the c5 breakthrough on the queen's side. Black is going to go for an f5 breakthrough, and it's going to be a race. But I prefer to be black in this race because at the end of the race for me is white's king. So if I'm successful and the attack is successful, I stand to gain a lot more than what white can gain on the queen side, which will require a lot more to convert. So black usually tries to set up his pieces as optimally as possible for this c5 breakthrough. You see that the knight transfers from f3 to d3, also aiming for c5 in the bayonet attack, which is more classical. b4 is also designed to support c5. So this is also typical. White goes f3 to protect e4, so that if black takes on e4, white has the option of recapturing with the f-pawn, although taking with the knight is also fine in some lines, but here white doesn't want to allow black to go knight f5 and knight d4, and we know that d4 square is very key. So you see those ideas transfer in these locked positions, whether the position is locked with the pawn on c5 or the pawn on e5. And black continues